Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're welcoming back Michael Faciane from Fun First Productions. His debut title, Triple Scoops Cherry on Top, is now available for pre-order. Mike, welcome to the binge. How you doing, sir?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me. Having me back.
It is amazing to have you back. For those who don't know, you were on about a year and a bit ago with one of our guest hosts. That was episode 228. So if people want to get kind of the whole background of how you got into the gaming industry, they can check that episode out. I encourage them to do so. Before we get started, though, let's maybe give people a quick recap of kind of who you are, kind of how you entered this industry. Let's just start there. So first and foremost, Fun First Productions, what is it and how did this get started?
Fun First. So everything that I do has to go back to, is it fun, right?
Yeah.
We all do that as designers. You find the fun, right? But it kind of keeps me in check, right? So sometimes it's like, oh, I have to be crunchy because people like crunchy. I have to be chaotic because people like chaotic, right? Like whatever the thing is that you want to put out into on people's tables, right? Or you feel like this is what they want, this is what they need, or this is what they would jive with. Well, if it's not fun, it doesn't matter, right? So going back to the basics and what is actually fun. It doesn't matter if you get to put that mechanism in that you've been dreaming of for years and like, oh, it'll be really cool. If it's not fun, then it doesn't need to be in there. So fun is the first thing.
I can relate to that because I and I often talk on the podcast about the importance of doing play testing and going into prototyping nights and often at those events, you'll have people who are other game designers and so forth, right? And they want to dive into the mechanics and they want to dive into, they want to kind of tear it apart and really go down to the grassroots of the game. And I always kind of do a timeout first and say, before we get into feedback, was it fun? Because if it's not fun, like the conversation's kind of done, right? Like if it's not fun, then there's something fundamentally that we need to change. Forget optimizing the play, the balance and all this other kind of stuff. So I love the fact that you guys kind of focused in, and I think that's amazing. Now you were in the gaming industry before, so I know this is your first debut title, but you were an actual game designer for, what was the company you had done some game design for?
It was a Privateer Press.
Nice.
A company up here in Washington. Bellevue, Washington. Just recently, they just sold like all their titles.
Oh, really?
So, that just happened. It was pretty. I was there. I started with them way back in 2008.
Yep.
I had a little stint with them. I learned a lot about the process. I learned a lot about just the different ins and outs of what it means to design a game and then develop it and play test it and get the art and the design together, all the just different facets. Definitely there, I had my hands in a bunch of different places, but there was quite a bit that I didn't, because it's a pretty big process, and coming in fresh, just thinking like, oh, I get to make games, and it was great, just even the process of landing it, they did like an open call, and it was out of 100 game designs that people put together, and they chose me. So they flew me up from California, and I've been up in Washington ever since. But yeah, so I learned a lot there, and it carries over and into the stuff I do now. And yeah, and for me, and just kind of going back to the fun factor, I really just tried to find the fun in everything that I did, even when I was there. So it was a great learning experience to kind of hone that in, though,
Yeah.
because you can be a little too whimsical at times, right? Like, because
Yeah.
I really like modular, and you'll see when we talk about the game that we're producing, and I really like asymmetrical, right? And broken abilities,
Yeah.
right? Just stuff that's just gonna come out of nowhere, and it's it's broken, right? Like everybody says, "Oh my gosh, that's too powerful." But is it fun, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do we get those experiences to the table, right? So when you just wreak havoc on the whole board, and and that has to be honed in too, though, right? You got to have balance. So the time I spent there was great learning experience, and just like I said, even even some of the other aspects of the business,
Yeah.
I touched on a little bit, right? And now it's like I have to do it, right? I have to talk to manufacturers, I have to talk to potential distributors and such. So yeah, it was a good journey for me. Um,
And
I,
talk
I just even remember back. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
was going to say, talking about that journey, I mean,
Yeah.
you worked on this with your daughter, which I think is just awesome, right? So you're,
Oh,
for those who don't know, your daughter did the art on this. So first and
yeah.
foremost, congrats to her, because she is super talented. For this artwork is awesome, right? So yeah, I can imagine being a father myself and having daughters, how proud you must be, right? That she has
Right.
been able to be part of this with you, and the bonding that is involved in kind of creating this, and then having her kind of contributing in such a meaningful way to this game. Like, how does that feel?
Oh man, it's great.
Yeah.
I'm proud papa, right? And then, so I mean, just to bring it back, I was designing games. Even though I was outside of the industry, I was still tinkering, right? Like, it was definitely something that found I knew I was gonna find myself back in somehow,
Hmm.
right? Um, so I have like folders and folders of just different game designs, right?
Yeah.
And so my daughters were younger, and um 12 and 10 at the time, and we were playing games. They were playing stuff like Sushi Go, and just simple games, right?
Yeah.
Play Munchkin and other things like that. Um, and at one point, I was just like, you know what? I should design a game for us to play. So that's kind of where it started. So I asked them, what would you like me to make? And my youngest daughter said, make a game about ice cream. Um, so that was it. I went into the lab and started to make a game about ice cream. And um, many iterations later, it's where it's at now. But I didn't know that it was going to be um, what it is. But it got to the point where it's like, oh, this is an actual game. It's fun. So then, instead of it just being for us, like, maybe I can shop it, right? Maybe I can get a publisher to pick it up, and we can do the thing. And I've been going to Gen Con, pretty consistently. So I had some ties to the industry still. So there were certain people that I can talk to. You know, some folks were like, "Hey, go talk to them," and
Yeah.
so I shopped it a little bit. And
What's
one of
that
the things
process
that came
like
from
for people out there who, some of our audience members who are, budding game designers working on games themselves, who want to go and shop the game, that maybe don't have the interest in, self-publishing? How did you approach that, and what would you say to someone else is the best way to kind of take that step?
it's interesting. Because I hear questions like that, and I hear different answers from different people. Um, and I think that's because it's different for everyone, right? For me, I came from it. Um, Somewhat. I'm not gonna say I was so deeply entrenched, and I have all these titles under my belt. I have a few, but like I don't. I'm not. I'm not. The guru, right?
Right.
But there were some connections that was made in that process. So um, in this industry is really friendly too, right? So you can you can meet people easily. You can connect easily in this industry, and the one thing I would say that you make friends when you show yourself friendly, right? So that's the way to go about it. Really, for me, is connecting on a relational level. Um, when it comes to like if it's just dry, like just coming in and like I don't know anybody,
Yeah.
and I think you have to still start there, right? Like get to
Yeah.
know people, and you can get you'll get some one-on-ones to really um, help you navigate what it is you're trying to do because everybody's different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody wants to do game design and that's all they do, right? And the product of the game, making the game and putting it out there, there's many, many, many other facets to it, right? So
Yeah.
it's not just game design, right? And that's another topic I'm sure it comes up a lot is the difference between game design and development, and and then there's play testing, there's the graphics, there's the editing, there's a ton of different things that has to happen. And one of the biggest things that I'm still learning is marketing, right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes into getting games to the table. So figuring out where you want to be in that process, and then honing in on that and focusing like a laser beam on that thing and developing yourself in that thing. I think is key, right? So
Yeah.
knowing exactly how you want to fit in, and making a game isn't just designing it. There's a whole lot more to it,
I
and it
think
brings me back to. Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say is that when you're saying put yourself out there and be friendly, kind, and kind of that comes back for me. I think that that's a great piece of advice, right? Is that I can think of the number of times I'm at a convention and as a publisher and we're there. I have people coming up and they're putting like a sell sheet in my hand, and there's no
Oh yeah.
relationship there, right? And it's like, okay, well, we're gonna do this quick scrub, and I'll take a look at the sheet, and I'll like within 45 seconds I can tell, okay, does this kind of fit our portfolio or not? But people that I've had a relationship with, right, or any of the, for lack of a better word, industry friends I've made, if any of those designers reach out to me and said, hey, I got a game concept I wanted to take a look at, it's not 45 seconds. We're probably gonna do a play test, right? And then I'm gonna from that
Right.
play test say, oh, you know what? Yeah, I think this would fit, or maybe not. But hey, I know somebody else is this, and I've done that before too. I'm like, I think it's gonna actually fit this other guy's portfolio. So the relationships are important, and people want to build relationships with you, right? And I know there's a lot of introverts in this industry, right? There's tons of us, right? And you got to force yourself. People don't
Yes.
believe I'm an introvert, but you got to force yourself out
Yeah.
there and start reaching out to other people in the industry and kind of building those friendships, and then from there then start doing the pitches. That is much easier than just trying to do the cold call of just going with a stack of info sheets and just hitting every publisher, because you're going to get 50 no's before you get a yes, right? But if you can get 10 publishers you got a good relationship with or friendship with, or somebody that's in that company who that friendship is because you want to build a friendship, not just because you're trying to sell them something, right? You're going to have much
Yeah.
greater odds of at least people being able to take a deeper look at what you have to offer.
Yeah, indeed. And it it starts with, I think it was advice given from Gabe Barrett.
Mm.
I used to listen to his podcast
Yeah,
a lot,
Gabe's great.
and he just kind of talked about being a part of the community,
Yeah,
and giving, not so much as trying to get, but giving. People have questions, people want advice on something, or people want different eyes on different things, and you can give your feedback. Get into playtest groups,
yep,
playtest other people's games, and there's another one, a great one, Joe Slack, right? Like get in playtest groups like that, and you can um, form these relationships
sure.
and get some insight on how to navigate your way through this industry, and where do you fit, and do you want to self-publish, do you want to do a Kickstarter or whatever, or do you want to just sell it, right? Do you want to just pitch it to an established publisher, and what does that mean for you, right?
Yeah.
Like ownership wise and everything else. So getting involved, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, it's easier than you think, especially since and like you said it, right? We're introverts.
Yeah.
I am too, right? So um, for the most part, I mean, there's a lot of introverts in this industry,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so there's an understanding, right? There's an understanding. So those that's been there, you find these meetups, you find places, whether it be online or in person, and people recognize that, and they put themselves out to be welcoming, um, as well, But you're not going to get that, you're not going to experience that until you step out.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's for me. That's the advice I would give on that, because you're not going to get it from some blanket statement or generality, coming from my experience, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna come from you connecting with people who's doing this thing and who can help you along your way.
So your decision to self-publish, instead of going on, like, because you're going straight to pre-order, so no Kickstarter, no crowdfunding. You're going straight to market with this game, which again is Triple Scoops. I have the original version, and I had a great chance
Yeah.
to play this actually with you, which is awesome. So this is the first edition you did, and now this new one is, and we'll get into kind of what you've changed because it's a lot more robust, and I'm actually
Yeah.
excited to get that copy because it's a bigger box. It's got organization stuff in it,
Right.
with the cherry on top. But the decision to go, you know what, I'm not going to take the crowdfunding path. I'm gonna go straight to market with this. What kind of drove that?
Um, there's a few things. The main thing I think, understanding what it means to run a Kickstarter, and you can speak to this a lot, tons better than me because I haven't done it. Um,
Yeah.
but I researched it, right? And I've heard the horror stories, and I heard how much it takes. It's a full time job,
Yeah.
right? And that's not to take away from the work that it takes to do what I'm doing, but I felt that, um, it was more on my pace
Mm.
when I'm not beholden to a Kickstarter, a funding campaign. And that's not to say that's not something I wouldn't do in the future, because because really Kickstarter has become like a marketing mechanism more than anything else.
Yeah.
Um, I
It's a
mean, you
pre-order
have the big
system.
companies using it. It's pre-orders, yes,
Yeah.
and really I haven't done a lot of marketing on my even on my pre-orders. It's been mainly, grassroots, going to conventions and showing the game off, and
Yeah.
most of the pre-orders are coming from people who actually played the game, right? Um, because I don't have Facebook commercials and all that other stuff. Down the line, as we grow, some of that stuff may come into play, and I may relook at, um, crowdfunding.
Hmm.
But right now, that's not the path we're taking, because we want. I, it's so everything comes at a cost,
Sure.
right? So we can talk about like the money it takes to even do a crowdfunding. It's
Yeah.
almost like you have to crowdfund the crowdfund.
A hundred
To
percent. A lot of people don't realize that is you
Right,
need to build it. It's not a crowd finder. It's a crowd funder. You have to find the
right. You have to
crowd
have a crowd.
and bring them to that platform, and that is not cheap, right? And there's
Yeah,
ways to kind of mitigate those costs. But any way you cut it, you're having to build an email list. You're having to build a pre-order system, a splash page. You're doing meta ads before you even do your campaign to build that audience and to build the following count. That all takes
yeah,
investment. Yeah.
yeah. And I actually talked to, GameFound as well.
Yep.
So I was looking into them, and, I was kind of leaning their way, but ultimately, yeah, we decided to just bootstrap it, and
Yeah.
take it straight, take it straight to market. But yeah, this is not, by any means advice for anyone else. I just knew that, counting the cost for us and what we're doing, that was the better path.
Yeah.
And, I did get some investment though,
Yep.
so that's great. Which was, I mean, which is big. Um, and it allows us to kind of just flow into it without worries,
Yeah.
right? Like this is a this is this is to me, it's like when you know what your path is, you know what you want to do. It just kind of goes back to like figuring out what you want to do in the industry. You want to design games, you want to, you know, just be a developer, be, you know, do art. um, then it makes it easy to make decisions to go all in,
Yeah.
right? Because I had that, you know, I had that being way do because I do artwork, right? I
Mm-hmm.
do graphic design. I can write. I can do all those different little things or whatever that it takes to, you know, make a game and everything. And it's like, oh, where do I fit in? What do I do? Ultimately, I recognize that what I want to do is publish and you know and ultimately make a place for others to come in and do the same. You
Yeah.
know, whether they're designers or artists or whatnot. So that's down the line for sure. But it's a vision that you know I'm holding to. So
So for people who
it's
don't know what
yeah
triple scoops is, so let's because I don't want to miss that, right? Because that's the core of why we're chatting.
yeah that's why we're here.
Explain to our audience what triple scoops is, what the essence of this game is, and kind of what you've changed to get to its current iteration, which again looks super awesome.
Yeah, so triple scoops, you know, talked about the origin a little bit. We had many iterations to get to where it's at. This is over 5 years in the making, right? And you know, like I said before, you know, being able to do it at our pace, you know, is is essential for what we're doing. I brought my daughter in to actually do the artwork. 2 years in,
Mm.
I saw her artwork just developing, and she's just great, right? So this is what she does, right? Um, so she was 14 when she started
Yep,
doing the art.
that's awesome.
17 now. So, but she's continued it. We just had a meeting last night, yesterday, and my youngest daughter now is getting pretty skilled with art. So we're gonna bring her in. But back to the game. The game is Triple Scoops. It's a modular card game. Um, as I said earlier, modular is big for me. I like to like have a sandbox for people to play in.
Sure.
We got many different modes of play. We got the game comes with 10 different characters, and the characters that you choose for the game is going to be limited to 5.
Mm-hmm.
And each player would choose one of those, and because of the characters you chose, it's going to dictate what the deck is going to be. So kind of think Smash Up,
Yep.
but a single deck for everyone, right? So, and this was big to me, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
getting so you showed your box, and
Yeah.
this is what it is
Yeah,
now.
that one's a lot bigger than what I
Um,
got for sure. I'm feeling jelly.
yeah, so that is the that's the game crafter version,
Yeah.
is the prototype. But this was really important to me, right?
Yeah.
As a player, to make it really useful, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
having a box that you could take all your cards and organize them, right? So
So
we
for
designed the
those who
insert.
can't see, who are listening to the audio, think
Yeah.
of what's the Dominion, right? The way the Dominion box is laid out, right, where you've got the different segments
Yes,
of the cards. It's much like that. It looks cool.
exactly. And that's where this comes in. I'm so for audio, I'm pointing to a sticker that's going along the side to insert, and it's telling you where everything goes in the box, just like Dominion.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So the idea is to make it easy to put the game back, take the game out, you know, build your deck, and get to playing.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, that was key to me, and you know, and here's the little bios of all the scoopers.
So I want to
So
jump in here because I think that I want to cull down the essence of what this game is because I had a chance to play it, which again I super loved it. So each player is essentially an ice cream shop, right? Like you're basically serving customers. So you've got this market of customers, right, that you're having to
yep.
serve. And what I thought was really cool about this game is that so you have a cone, and the cone kind of is a reversible card, so you can either go sugar cone or a standard cone, and you're adding scoops, different flavors of scoops to the top of your cone. And throughout the game, what you're trying to do is you're trying to draft the right flavors to match the what customer XYZ is looking for. So if they want strawberry on the bottom, chocolate in the middle, and vanilla on the top, or maybe a rainbow on the top, you're trying to kind of come up with that combination. But at the same time, you got other players that are competing for those same resources, and they have an ability to actually steal some of your scoops, right? So they can force you to swap scoops with them, and you've got this additional market in the center, which has all these kind of disruptors that kind of cause a little bit of that ice cream shop chaos, which I think is, quite frankly, emulates the experience of an ice cream shop. My brother owns an ice cream shop, and it's very much like this.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's super cool, and the iconography and the way it's laid out is just so clever. I think you guys did an amazing job on it. How many players? So I played it was a 4-player game I played. Does it go more than 4 players? Or is it still 2 to 4?
It's 2 to 4.
Okay.
We've had it at 5 before. And we're talking about reintroducing that.
Sure.
But I kind of felt like 4 was the sweet spot.
Yep.
And I want the game experience to be as best as possible.
Yeah.
So once we're kind of developing a way to incorporate 5 to make it seamless and maintain the fun, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big thing for me. So, but yeah, it's 2 to 4 players. In different game modes. You can play one-on-one, where you have 2 scoopers each, just to get more on the board.
Yep.
And we're coming up with this is cool. We're coming up with a tournament style mode where, so there's 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're playing one-on-one, you choose 5 each.
Yeah.
Right. So you do a little draft, and then you have your own separate deck, which means that you have access to abilities that your opponent doesn't have, and it gives you a little bit of more of like a tournament style,
yeah,
back and forth. So we plan to do. We've tested it a few times, and it's really fun. So
yeah, it's awesome.
So yeah, there's many different modes of play. There's even co-op. Right? Mm-hmm. So we have co-op mode where everyone's playing. It's basically you're playing against the Fun Festival. So Triple Scoops is a ice cream shop in a town called Funtown, right? This town is all about fun, and they have a fun festival every week. So the boss is gonna put a kiosk out there for selling ice cream at the fun festival, but he's competing with everything around him, right? So
yeah,
there's the merry-go-round, the cotton candy stand, and face painting, all the different things. So you have this line of kids outside waiting for ice cream, but they get distracted, so they may leave to go do the fun festival stuff, but you have to come together as a team to serve a certain amount of customers before a certain amount leaves. And that is a really fun game. We had so we just did a convention, a local convention here, and we had an older couple. They were just coming back to the table to play the game.
Yeah,
like they must have played 4 or 5 games.
That's awesome.
And they really loved the co-op version, and that's what sold it for them.
Right? I'm gonna have to try the co-op version. I haven't played it in a while, so I think I got a game night tonight. Right. I think I'm actually bringing it up to game night tonight again, just to kind of get it back on the table.
Yeah, I would definitely send you a PDF of the new rules.
Oh, please do. Yeah.
So and it has the co-op mode and everything in it. So yeah.
So what's from here? Where do you go? So you're in pretty deep on the triple scoops. Have you started working on another game, or is there another thing that you're working on that kind of comes after this, or how are you planning to move kind of forward after this?
So as I said, Triple Scoops is an ice cream shop in Funtown. So the idea is that we're going to build a universe of games.
Oh, cool. And in Funtown.
So yes, and what I'm kind of doing a little different is I want to incorporate the community, right? So I'm getting feedback already, but as this launches and we build more, we'll have a platform for people to come and chime in on what's going to be in Funtown, right? So we have some stuff in the works. I'm actually we were just in the beginnings co-designing a game with my 10-year-old nephew, and he's awesome. So we're working on something, and there's some other ideas coming from the community that I'm fiddling with. There's a lot of content though for Triple Scoops that we want to just really make excellent and bring to the table.
Yeah.
So it's going to be concurrent, right? So we have Triple Scoops being developed, the next set. So right now I have content that can do 2.5 sets, right? So this set has 10 characters. I have another set that would have 10 characters, plus more, right? So that's still in the works. I'm working on alternate versions of all the scoopers. So I'm gonna do a mini expansion with alternate versions of the scoopers. Plus some other little fun stuff that we'll add to that. So we're definitely going to be continually developing Triple Scoops. It's the flagship game. I think I really do believe it's a hit with everyone who's played. It's been met with welcome arms, right? They've been enjoying it. So we really want to give the experience that we have, because I have access to everything here, right? But we're giving you 10 at a time, right? So we really want all of it out there, right? So, but we have to trickle it, I can't put it all in one box. We're not gonna do a $200 game, right? So
well, for those who do want to check this out, I would encourage them to go to the show notes. I've got a link in there, funfirstproductions.com. They can do a pre-order of the game. I'm a big fan myself. I love it. I think it's awesome. The theme, the playability, it was cool. And I think there's a lot of people out there that might really enjoy it. For those who want to follow your journey, is there a Facebook page or anything like that they can click on, or an Instagram account to follow you?
Yes, we have both. Facebook is Fun First Productions.
Yeah.
And Instagram is also Fun First Productions.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Michael, I want to wish you all the best on this pre-order. I can't wait to see how it turns out. Probably gonna be ordering my updated copy as well, so I'll look forward to seeing that. And maybe we can catch up next year on another episode of the podcast. We'll talk about this fun community, right? This Funville. I'd love to hear more about the next game that's going to fit into it.
Right. Yeah, definitely. We have stuff in the works. By that time, we should have something ready to go, and more to talk about for sure. And if I may, and I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but a big part of what we're doing is about building community.
Yeah.
I do see these games as vehicles for that, right? So building community is the biggest part for me. So what we do is we do an all-day gaming once a month, and we're in the Seattle area, so Renton is where we do it. But you can find us on Meetup too. Is Fun First.
Oh, perfect.
Gaming, all-day gaming.
So Meetup.com, for people who don't know, is a social platform where you can go and join groups that are in your local area. So those who are in the Seattle area, I encourage you to look up the Meetup.com and find Fun First and check out their game night. I want to wish you all the best this coming year. You take care, my friend. Cheers.
All right. Thanks, James.
This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.